Hi guys, welcome back. It's been a little while, so I thought what I would do is do a walk around with you and show you what's changed and what's what. We've just had a couple of big bags of compost delivered, which I'm excited about, but also a little bit bummed because I was hoping that I wouldn't have to buy any more and that I could just make do with what we've got, but it turns out what we're making here is not ready, and I was just getting backed up with plants ready to go out, but the bed's not been dressed for compost, and because they're new, no dig beds, I just had nowhere to put them. So I bit the bullet and I ordered more compost. It came this morning and I've been hauling it from the driveway down to the gardens, and I thought I would take the chance to talk to you to have a little bit of a break. So I figure I'll show you around, show you what we've been getting up to, and then I'll get back to compost hauling in a minute. So literally 30 seconds after I recorded this, Nigel appeared and offered his help in hauling some of the compost down from the driveway down into the gardens, and who am I to say no to that kind of help? So I put the tour on pause, but don't worry, I do come back to it. What you doing? What you doing? You digging? We're no dig. I'm not sure about this. Hey! Yeah. Good morning guys, it's the next morning. Apparently I'm getting in the habit of once I'm just tired for the day, then that's that. I can't even fathom turning on the camera. So anyhow, I'm here out in the early morning because somebody decided that it was time to come outside. And I thought I would take this chance before I get into anything and before I get head to toe covered in dirt. I will come out and walk around with you and show you what's going on. I figure if I'm not doing anything in particular, I won't get distracted, and we can actually just walk around, see the progress, and have a little chat about where we're headed before we get on with what the day may bring. So I think it's a bit of honest reality for a second. So it's been a little while, so I thought I'd introduce myself again. I am Sam, this little guy is Max. We live out here in rural northwest Wales with my other half and our other dog Jessie. They don't love the early morning so much, so they are both still in bed. It's been a little while since we put out a video, and in all honesty, it's because I have just been entirely overwhelmed this spring. Went away for a couple of days, we came back not very well, so all in all I would suggest we probably had 5 or 6 days where we didn't do anything out on the land, and it was right at the time where the weather changed. We had a nice day's of rain and then some glorious sunshine, and the whole place just exploded into life, and our 2.5 acres of reasonably under control land became just out of control in what felt like a matter of a few days, and then I kind of just didn't want to show anyone. I'll wait until I get everything under control before I start showing people again, and then the realization hit me that if I wait until I feel like everything's under control, then you will never see this land ever again. So today is the day. I'm just going to show you where we're at. There's no preps happened. This is just what it is. It's not tidy. We are very much a work in progress, but I'm going to walk you around, show you what's been happening, and show the reality of a first year smallholder's journey who's not got a lot of clue what she's doing. So that was probably going to be quite obvious when you watch this video, but I just set the scene for anyone who's not met us yet. Okay, so I don't even know where to start. Let's come back out here. Last time you saw me I had these blueberry cuttings. I say cuttings, they were destroyed by rabbits, and I potted up what was left. There were some buds off of them, some leaves, and then within a week they just like crumbled and died, so I think I may have murdered them. I'm not sure how, but that's that. So we come around here. So in this cold frame you'll see an awful lot of tomato seedlings. They look okay now. So in reality they came out here way too soon, but I had no space. I knew it was too soon. We were way past frost dates. The overnight temperatures were still getting down to sort of 5 or 6, which is not ideal, but I didn't have anywhere else for them. So we've lost a few, but all in all, it really just seemed to stunt the growth, and they just seem to be coming back now. So I think hopefully we'll be okay. Got all manner of things around. We've still got willow cuttings waiting to go somewhere. Got some nasturtiums lying around. I've got what survives of our asparagus. So I did actually plant all the asparagus except for these 4 pots out into the food forest, and something happened, and we're not laying any blame, but somebody was trying to be very helpful and knowing the land for us, and well, the asparagus is no more. They have gone into the belly of the mower. So hey ho, we'll have to start that again. In this here cold frame, we've got, this is a load of asters that we started from seed. We've got more tomatoes. We've got some grapevines that are desperate to find a new home. I've also got some dahlias that need to go out in the ground that we started from seed. And then over here, more tomatoes, more grapes. These are the first of our courgettes coming up to life. There's a rhubarb from seed, they're doing okay. And then we've got some pumpkins. This is some gherkins. I think these are some cauliflower. And these are just sweet peas and some borage. Took some yarrow off of the driveway. The driveway is gravel and it was getting a bit overgrown. And I noticed that there was a load of yarrow coming up, so I thought I'd grab a few and pop them in some dirt and see if I could sprinkle those around the land a little bit. So that's very exciting that they seem to have taken one well. Down here we've got a load of brassica seedlings. I'll talk about that again a bit more in a minute. I've just popped some dahlias, an aster and some nasturtiums in this pot so we can have a nice little flower display on our way into the garden. But let's go take a little look. Hopefully most of that will be making its way out to the garden within the next week or so, but we shall see. I'll show you what's going on out here. I think last time we were out here the onions were in. They're looking really, really good. Somebody likes to sit on them, don't you? Yes. But they're growing well, so we planted these multi-sown. We've been taking the biggest ones out and using them as spring onions. I've got some salad leaves interplanted. Not doing great, but hey ho, we'll see how they go. So we've been harvesting spinach and eating that, which has been lovely. You can see that we've gone to seed already over here. This one's on its way. This one's budding as well, so we might just be approaching the end of spinach. But I did plant some perpetual spinach, so hopefully that will take over that role once the actual spinach bolts. But I've not actually eaten any of it yet, so we shall see how that is. I've also got my chickpeas. That is these. So only a few of these have made it this far. I only really planted them as a bit of an experiment to see how chickpeas grow and if that was feasible as a thing that I could actually do, but we'll leave them to it and see how it goes. Moving along here, we've got celery in here. I've planted the celery as a block. It is the self-blanching variety, but I have still planted them in a block together, and once they get to a reasonable size I will start obscuring light from the outer portion of them, just to see if we can get those stalks really nice and white. And if we come this way, now I did put a couple of cucumbers out, those very tragically sad looking things down there. They have not enjoyed it. Our nighttime temperatures now are up to a sort of 9 to 10 overnight, which is, so I don't think it's a cold issue, I think it's a wind issue. This field is quite exposed. Oh, it's my alarm. Should be getting up right now. Yeah, I think it's a wind issue. I did predict that, but I haven't really done anything to stop that being a problem. And I've paid the price. Those cucumbers are dead. That's fine. It's not the end of the world. I've got more as starts, so we can try again. I got a little bit used to the pattern of wind. It was coming across from this direction all winter, so I thought in my head I would have this support and I would grow something up this side, some beans or something that's going to go quickly, and then that would give some windbreak for the cucumbers to climb up behind it. But since it's been summertime, the wind has actually started coming from the other direction, so realistically you just get wind from everywhere out here, and so it's quite hard to protect anything. So I need to give that some thought. But anywho, I've just popped some other bits in here, some flowers, some borage, some nasturtiums, just to try and fill out space. Hopefully they won't take too long to establish, and then that'll be a little bit of protection for my more tender veggies, and just generally to attract some pollinators. Let's talk about this first. So out here, as you can see, it's not tidy. We've got weeds everywhere, but such is life. So what this here is our perpetual spinach. I think today may be the day where I actually try some of that and see if it really is spinach replacement. We've also got some lamb's lettuce, corn salad, and some other bits of lettuce just floating around in here, so that hopefully we'll be taking salad from out here most days. And then we've got our peas, and aren't they starting to look good? So it's taken a little while to establish out here. These are all sugar snaps, but I think they're starting to climb up this frame now, so we should have some peas blooming soon. And then if we come past the peas, we come to this little bed here, and this is the makings of my herb garden. As you can see, it's all quite young right now, but in here we've got parsley, we've got coriander, there is a borage in there, there's more perpetual spinach, we've got chives, we've got some sweet rocket, and we've got an awful load of weeds. We'll keep an eye on this, keep it going. Hopefully we'll be harvesting some fresh herbs out of here not too distant future. Oh, I've just seen a thing. So I did some direct sowing. I think realistically I'm not going to do any more direct sowing this year. And why? Because these are all brand new no dig beds this year from a field that was otherwise just completely left. So it was used for horses in the past, but it had been a good sort of 5 or 6 years since it had actually been grazed, and it was all a bit of a mess. So put the no dig beds in, but there's an awful lot of weeds growing here, and that's okay. You know, I was going to say I'm keeping on top of it. I'm not really keeping on top of it, but I'm going to work to keep on top of it for the next year or so. I accept that this year is going to be a reasonably heavily weeded year, because they just keep popping up. Hopefully once these beds get a bit more established, then the weeding will become easier. But for now I think I'm not going to go with the direct sowing, because I can't tell what's a weed and what's not. But I have just seen something that I did direct sow. I sowed a good number of, and there's only one, but nonetheless I'm going to celebrate it. This has got to be beetroot, right? But then you can see the problem, that we're all just weeds completely surrounding it. So I think that will be it for my direct sowing adventures this year. Let's just, oh, I can see a big exposed potato. Hang on. Where did you come from? Let's cover you up. Sorry, just had to rescue him before he turned green. As you can see, I have got some potatoes in here. We've also got broad beans and some more peas down the end. The broad beans are in flower now, which is lovely. The potatoes are starting to make potatoes, which I've just seen, which is lovely too. So again, the bed is full of weeds, but we're not letting that bother us right now. I'm just doing a bit here and there as I go, because otherwise, I mean, when you think you've got to keep it all completely weed free, then it just becomes so overwhelming, because that's not reality. It's not going to happen for me this year, but if I can grow some plants around the inevitable weeds, then so be it. That's got to count as a win. Right, so if we come down here, we have got a puppy and some tomatoes that went in a good few weeks ago now. As I say, it was long past the frost date. These came out here when nighttime temperatures were probably getting to about 8 or 9 overnight. It's a little bit colder than we'd like, but nothing too drastic. They did get a little bit stunted, but they are definitely putting on new growth now, so I'm feeling quite positive about it. Let me show you. So I think realistically, if you look at descriptions for what any vegetable plant wants, it is always well sheltered environment, which I can't really provide for anything. So I'm kind of at the point now where I'm thinking I need to just get stuff out. I have dozens of tomato plants sat in pots. I have no space to up pot them really. I've got the beds ready, and if I up pot them, then they're going to be out in the wind anyway, because I've not got anywhere to put them under cover. I've not got polytunnel, I've not got a greenhouse, so I think realistically this is the time. Some things are suffering because they're coming out and we're getting proper winds, but I think I'm just going to have to accept that such is life, and some things won't make it, and that's okay. It might have to be a bit of a survival of the fittest thing here. We will still get food. As you can see, these tomatoes are doing all right still, regardless of the fact that they've been out here in some gusts. I've got the bamboo in. My plan is to do a kind of Florida weave system with them, but I will show you that as I set it up. They're just getting to the point where they could really benefit from being properly staked in, so I will get to that next. We've also in here got some more onions. I'll come down. So in here got some more onions, some more coriander, and then we've just got some lettuce leaves coming up here. Also some kind of brassica sat in that seed tray. I'll show you what the plan is with the brassicas in a second, but I think what I need to do is get this full row of tomatoes out, get the weave up so that they get a bit more support, and then just hope for the best and know that I've got spares, so if I need to replace any that don't make it, I can actually do that, and that's not the end of the world. So if we come around here, you see the garlic is doing pretty well. I think they look good. We've got scapes. So these are my scapes. This is a hardneck variety. So I'll be harvesting the scapes soon, and we'll use those in a stir fry probably. But I think the garlic's coming along really well. They'll probably stay in the ground until, well, it's 3rd week in May now. So they'll have at least another month, I would think, but they really are starting to look good. So I am quite excited about that. Now, if I turn around in a bit of a 360, you'll see behind me, we've got more beds ready. This is what happened to all that compost from yesterday. We brought it out here, popped it in these beds. And so I've got that whole bed that has the tomatoes already in it to plant out, and we've got this end of this garlic bed, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 beds behind me ready to go. So feeling positive, we are going to get this done. Now if I come down here, I'll talk to you about the brassica plan. So this is the makings of my brassica cage. I do intend to net my brassicas. So when we first moved in and I met the previous owners, when they were on their way out the door, they said they'd left this old gazebo to be collected by the council, and I thought, hang on a minute, I can use that. So I cancelled the collection, and I've kept it until now, because in my head this was a ready-made either fruit or brassica cage. So the blue down there is netting that I brought from the previous house. In my head I had loads of netting and I would just net this up and that would be that, done and done, but it turns out that working on a different scale here, so I don't have enough netting. I've ordered more, but that'll be coming this week, and I will do a video to how I turn this old pop-up gazebo frame into our brassica cage. But as you can see, we have already planted some. I'm just using these small little net tunnels for now while they're nice and small, just to get them established. They are getting a bit big for it already. As you can see, they're already touching the sides, which means we'll start seeing some caterpillars on them soon, I'm sure. But this is just doing the majority of the job for now until I can get this netted. But as I say, that should be in the next week or so. So in here at the moment, we've got some Brussels sprouts, some cabbage, and some purple sprouting broccoli. I've got some cauliflower to go in here, and a couple more varieties of broccoli and cabbage. So this will get filled out. This is a 6x3 meter frame, and all the brassicas I'm planning to grow are going to go in here. I might have a few sacrificial ones out by where the chickens are going to be, and if they make it, they can have them, and if they don't, well, it might just be a distraction from the rest of my crops, but we shall see. I've got a lot of starts ready to go in, so I'll fit in what I can fit in, and then the rest will be dotted around, and if they make it, they make it, and if they don't, it's all good. Nosy over here. So this little area that's under the black plastic, I covered this back in the winter. It has blown off a few times in the wind, but for the most part, this whole area, which is about 4x4 meters, has been covered in black plastic for months. So most of what is underneath there is dead by now, and this is where I'm planning to put my sweet corn. I've planted sweet corn. It's not shown its head yet, but I'm hopeful that within the next week or so it will, and then we can look at putting it out. I don't direct sow any beans or corn because between the rodents and the birds, they just disappear, so it's not worth it. But that's fine. Once they come up, they can go out in that bed over there, and then that's also where I'm planning to pop my pumpkins. I'm not going to do a full Three Sisters companion plant, but I am planning to just pop the pumpkins around the edges, just to try and keep the grass and the weeds back from encroaching back into that patch that we've spent months killing off what's under there. Oh, this is actually super helpful for me to walk around. Usually when I walk around the land, it's because I'm doing something and I've got my hands full and my mind full and I'm on a mission, and you don't see the little bits and bobs that are just changing around you that you need to do something about. Anyway, let's have a little wander down to the food forest and I will show you the progress down here. So the rhubarb, I thought I'd murdered, but it is coming back to life. So it's the rhubarb's first year, so I won't be touching it this year. I'm just going to let it establish and hope that it survives so that next year we can be harvesting rhubarb. As you saw, I did start some from seed as well, so hopefully we'll get quite the rhubarb patch on the go. My raspberries have sprung into life. As you can see, they've been quite taken over by grass and weeds, but you know, babying raspberries has not been my priority. I'm hopeful that they are enough of a bully in the garden that they'll be able to just deal with a little bit of neglect. So coming down here, you can see the fruit trees and things behind me. They are coming into life, even the fig. Look at that. Alive. In here we've got a plum tree down the end, which is looking good. These are some elderflower trees that are also coming into life, and then in here you should see lots of change. I do love this little patch of anemone. Right, so after the asparagus fiasco, we've agreed that if I plant anything in here that looks vaguely like grass, it needs to be in a very distinguishable bed. It doesn't mean there'll be proper beds like this forever, but just for now, once the trees grow, hopefully a lot more of this will get shaded out. We'll be planting lots of things. There'll be a lot more competition for the grass and the weeds, but for now, if you try to just plant something small in a little patch, it just gets taken over again straight away. So this way we can be nice and clear about what's planted where. So in here we have got a whole load of Welsh onions, and then I've also just popped some other little bits and bobs. These are echinacea plants, and this is a rosemary cutting that I took off of my established rosemary. So we're looking at hopefully a lot of food in here once this takes hold. We follow this path. We've got a white currant and a gooseberry. They're putting out some leaves, so hopefully they're doing okay. So this is my Bardsey Island apple. He's doing okay. This is where I'm planning my next bed to be. What is this? This is my cherry tree. He's looking good. Follow this path around. We've got the chicken coop. Now there's still no chickens in it. It's not quite finished. It's taken a bit longer than we'd planned, but what doesn't? So that will be hopefully happening in the next couple of weeks to actually get the chickens, but I know I've said that before, so I'll just tell you when it does happen and stop telling you when it's going to happen. And we've got a plum tree that's just sitting in front of the chicken run there. I'll stop walking around and just showing you, first year trees in a moment, but let me come here and show you my walking onions. So the walking onions have started to put out little bulbs on top, which is really, really cool. This is the blueberry that got eaten by rabbits. It's really trying to live, so we'll keep an eye on it, and we shall see if it does. But then basically, see behind me, got a whole load of trees springing into life, which is lovely. So these here are all elderberry trees, bushes over here. We've got the hazel behind me there. They seem to be doing quite well. You'll notice lots of like piles of grass where we've mowed out here. It's a bit of a nightmare with the mowing because earlier in the spring and the weather started to get better, but it was so wet that you could see that the grass was growing, and yet we just did not have a dry day. And realistically, trying to bring the mower out here when it's wet means it just gets blocked. It's impossible to do. So you're kind of sitting watching it happen, watching it get out of control, watching the grass get too high for the mower to deal with, but there's not really anything that you can do about it. So by the time we did get a couple of dry days, we did come out here and get it done, but it was a job. Thankfully my dad came and helped us out, so we were really struggling a little bit there, but it's all under control now. So the piles of grass is basically just using as mulch around the trees, try and kill off a little bit more of the grass out here, because it is quite significant competition for a young tree to have grass growing at the base. So we're just using the clippings as a mulch. We're going to get plenty of grass clippings to keep sort of layering up and killing off the grass as we go, but realistically trying to actually kill off a significant amount of the grass out here is just going to be a really big undertaking. So we're going to try and just take it bit by bit out here and do a patch at a time, plant it out, get it established, and then move on to the next one. Otherwise you end up with the situation where you've got loads of little bits and bobs planted, you don't know what's what. It's so easy to lose track, and then if you don't come out here for a week or so at the wrong time of year, then all of a sudden weeds are completely taken over and you've lost sight of what's going on. I'll do a more detailed look around in the food forest maybe in a couple of weeks' time once everything is a bit more established. But that's just a quick overview for you of where we are at. Okay, I think that's quite a good summary of where we're at and how it's going. Everything is ticking along, everything is not entirely under control, but a little bit more than it was a couple of weeks ago where I got a little bit snowed under. I didn't really know what to prioritise. There were a couple of weeks where Nigel wasn't here, just because of work and things, and I was on my own, and yeah, I got a little bit overwhelmed, I'll be honest about it. But I really do think that we're getting under control now. That doesn't mean to say that it's not messy, doesn't mean to say that it's not weedy, and that there's lots and lots to do, but it feels like something that we can handle now. And I'm just quite excited to see where it goes. We've got lots of food either out in the garden or about to go out in the garden, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what we can get out of this space. I think I was worried before about any little thing that didn't work out. We've had some things die, some things aren't dealing well with the conditions, but I think that's all just part of the learning curve, and I need to let it happen a little bit. I know I am trying to be thoughtful about what goes where and what conditions are ideal, but realistically, if things can't cope with wind, then that's just not going to be something that I'm going to be able to grow here until I get, you know, maybe a polytunnel or something. But that's not on the cards this year. It's probably not on the cards next year, so I'm just going to have to try things out, see how it goes, and not take it too personally if it doesn't work. That's the reason my brassica cage is down that end, because I think that's the most protected bit. We eat a lot of brassicas. I know they don't love being battered around by wind, so I have tried to be a bit thoughtful about what goes where, but you do just have to take a little bit of the rough with the smooth, learn lessons as we go, and if there's some things that I can't grow right now because of the conditions, then I think that's okay. We'll just let that be. There's plenty that we can grow. It's very mild here. We get a good amount of rain. We get a reasonable amount of sun. So I think realistically it's just learning what works and what doesn't. This is our first year of gardening on this kind of scale. But before this we were in the city centre in a walled garden, just patio and pots. So this is quite the step up. I've got loads to learn and I'm learning it. But I think rather than letting it get on top of us and it becoming a thing that stresses us out, just need to relax and enjoy it a little bit. You know, this is the dream. This is what I've been working for a long time, so it's not worth being stressed over. It's just worth trying to enjoy it. And so I am vowing now to get back onto videoing and showing you the progress of how we get along and how this summer progresses. So thank you very much. Until next time. Cheers, guys.